set up Hester?
What's that?
Did he set
Union Sunday nights here, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT at 855-839-1210. Hope you had a great day. God, the weather was absolutely beautiful. Going down to like 66 tonight, which for me is pretty perfect. I know some people like it nice and hot. For me, man, just give me like anywhere between like 55 and 70, and I am good to go. If you like the sunshine, don't get too used to it. It's supposed to have like 5 days of nonstop rain starting tomorrow, so there's that. Want to get into talking cryptocurrencies. We've got my friend Kevin Pham. Welcome back to the airwaves here, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. And your story, actually, you were brought to sort of the forefront for me when I saw your story about Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Going back, when was that? It was like, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago?
It was about 2 years ago.
And you were one of the guys who literally was seeing kind of what was going on in the banking industry, and not to get like too into it, but you said enough, and I'm going to do something entirely different.
Yeah, so I guess what you would define what I did was direct action, or it's getting trendy anarchism, to where you just take action as a free individual. You don't ask for permission. And basically what I did was I saw what Occupy Wall Street did, and I was empathetic, but I didn't think what they did was effective, and I didn't call my congressman and ask for more, regulation and legislation,
right?
Because I know that process is, very inefficient.
Basically, good luck getting anything done with Wall Street regulation.
Yeah. So what I use is, I'm from Silicon Valley, so I use the distributed exponential power of the internet, to where I just took a picture in front of Wells Fargo with a sign that said "Close your account." I know how banks work. The CEO is beholden to shareholders, and if you can affect the share price, then that you as the public can bend a company to your will. And basically, I said that if the Wells Fargo's board doesn't hold the CEO accountable, then everybody in America should close down their account.
Right.
And the post went viral, got 50,000 shares. It got on CNN.
Hey, you're literally everywhere.
Yeah. And it was just, I didn't even plan it. I just said something that a lot of people were thinking. A lot of people were victims, and a lot of people were victims as employees. But the thing is, everybody was just scared to say something. And I guess, I just got sick of it. And
for me, the interesting thing, particularly here on WPHT, is we're talking to an audience that a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. And a lot of what you were kind of railing against, even though a lot of people hear, Occupy Wall Street or any of that, and they're like, those are communists or whatever.
Yeah.
All of that stuff happened or a lot of it happened under the Obama administration.
Yep.
So it's not a Republican thing, and it's not just a Democrat thing. It is literally just the powers that be in Washington
versus the individuals.
Exactly.
Yep.
So let's get to you in Bitcoin then. How did you go from being in the banking industry to your interest in Bitcoin and really being like one of those people who are a proponent of cryptocurrencies? Yeah. And after that, let's get into exactly what Bitcoin is, because I'm sure there are a lot of people going, how is that going to affect my 401k, or what's Bitcoin all about? So how did you get there, and then tell us about it?
Sure. So actually, it was due to my horrific experience in the belly of the beast in the banking industry that turned me on to Bitcoin, where Bitcoin made sense. Just really simple questions like, we live in a digital age, data moves at the speed of light. But why can't I just send money from my Bank of America to Wells Fargo? Like I send an email from my Gmail to my Hotmail. It's just data, right? And, that was the first question, being a millennial. And then the second question, I worked in banking through the 2008 financial crisis. And I just had this intuition that no one had any idea what was going on or what the rules were, and people were making things up as they go. And they literally were. And I lost trust in the system. And it's like I think of economics capitalism like a game. Like, if we're going to play a game, we need to know what the rules are. We can't just have arbitrary rules where certain people get preferential treatment and get bailed out over other people, because if everybody doesn't play the same rule, the system just does not work.
Well, I know for me, like looking back at the economic meltdown, and God, that left talking point of, Barack Obama brought us back from the, whatever. economic policy brought the economy roaring back, but nobody was ever held accountable for any of that crap.
Yep.
Like nobody.
Yeah. So
nobody at all.
it was basically, it was papered over. It was
Under the Obama administration, we might add.
Yeah, it was a Band-Aid. A lot of the same people were still in power. The people that did not predict it were still running the show.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to Bitcoin, which goes back to this direct action, not asking for permission, kind of an anarchist strategy, to where there was a anonymous person on these kind of coding cryptography message boards named Satoshi Nakamoto.
Mm.
And what he did was he developed open source software to create a digital form of currency or gold, and he called it Bitcoin.
Right. So the second that you start talking about crypto and encrypted, and people start glazing over.
Yeah.
So kind of explain what that is, because I being one of those people, I'm like, that's really complicated. But Bitcoin basically works like cash.
Yes.
But
so
it's finite in the amount that there is.
Yes. So in layman's terms, all Bitcoin is open source software that everybody can read and that everybody can audit. So for example, a Google Android operating system is usually open source, and people can view the source of the code. And Bitcoin works in the same way, to where Satoshi coded it to where he limited the supply to 21 million. And everybody can observe the code and audit. And everybody knows that this currency's supply is constrained, and people can have trust in it. And also the fact that it's built on the internet,
right?
And it's an open source protocol like the internet. Anybody can pipe into it. Anybody can buy it. Anybody can hold it. Anybody can transact it. And anybody with internet in the world can use Bitcoin.
And the cap is how much?
21 million.
21 million.
Yes.
So unlike the US dollar, where it's like, okay, hey, we need more money, let's just print some, or let's add more ones and zeros or whatever. Bitcoin it's solid, 21 million, and that's all there will ever be.
Yeah. So the caveat there is that, like software, it is editable, it is changeable, but the beauty of Bitcoin is that no one person controls it. So right now, the dollar is basically controlled by a single entity in the central bank.
Right. So the Fed basically runs the show.
Yes. So they have a mandate to lower unemployment, maintain the price level. But in reality, it looks like they get politicized, and they have to come in and rescue the whole financial system.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's just arbitrary. And when you have one group that is not accountable to the people, there is no accountability, and they can pretty much do whatever they need to do. Whereas with Bitcoin, the beauty of Bitcoin is that it is a distributed software, to where the way banks work, for example, Venmo. So Venmo is a money protocol where you send money. And
so basically it's kind of for people listening right now who maybe not use it. Everyone knows what PayPal is.
Yes.
Which it's you go on eBay and you say, I want to buy a Venetian fountain or who knows what, and then you basically send money through your credit card through PayPal. So Venmo's just like that.
Yes. And basically all it is a ledger update. So it will just deduct my balance and credit the merchant's balance.
Got it.
And no money is moved until somebody withdraws and moves their money from PayPal's bank account to yours.
Right.
So all it is a transaction database. But the thing with that is, if one person controls it, then it can be censored. So, for example, if you try to send money to WikiLeaks and the government determines WikiLeaks to be
shut you down.
A terrorist organization,
right,
then they can basically, do an embargo against WikiLeaks by telling, hey, PayPal, we're going to subpoena you, shut down their bank account, or you'll be guilty of aiding a terrorist or whatever.
So that's kind of a double-edged sword there for Bitcoin, because then Bitcoin actually can be used to funnel money to good people in Venezuela or bad people in Iraq or Syria or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So just like the internet can be used to
Right.
spread truth, or it can be used to spread dangerous propaganda.
Right.
That's kind of the catch-22 of freedom. Basically. So what happens with the WikiLeaks situation was that they got their bank accounts shut down, their PayPal accounts shut down, I believe their Visa, MasterCard shut down, and people started using Bitcoin, like email, just this open protocol, and they just started sending money to WikiLeaks, and they kept it alive. And then I believe in 2013, Bitcoin went from anywhere from like around $80 to $1,000 in like a day. And basically, people that were trying to be shut off from the banking system got really rich. So it's a very fascinating time to where a lot of these freedom fighters, these rebels, or I guess the government might call them terrorists, are getting rich because the government tried to shut them down. So it's kind of like a Barbra Streisand effect to where the government trying to shut them down is backfiring because you have this free, open money protocol like email where you can send money to anybody in the world.
And it's totally untraceable. And so where do you see, because Bitcoin, obviously you'd said you'd gone from 80 to 1,000 in like no time at all. And then last time you were on with me, which was maybe a year ago.
Yeah. It was about in the thousands or the low 900s.
You told me, buy it. And of course, did I? No, because I'm an idiot. But I'm sitting there watching Bitcoin run up from like, 1 to 2 to 3. And then like I woke up one day and Bitcoin was at like $20,000 a Bitcoin. And it's since come back down to like what? I think it's trading at like 8 right now.
Yep.
Is that where you think it's going to be for a while, or?
So I try to.
I know you don't want to be the forecaster. And...
Yeah. There's a lot of liability there,
right.
But it's just kind of also a principled thing. A big thing about Bitcoin is not trusting anybody,
right,
but yourself. Like it's open source software. You can verify. You can audit.
Yeah, I had seen an article basically, and it was like, Bitcoin. This is going to be the floor for a good long time, and don't expect it to go below 8,000 or whatever. And I thought, well, it sounds like an expensive but good investment now.
I'll throw you guys a bone because, price talk, I don't find it very interesting, but, it is, appealing to kind of a, novice audience or just
right.
mainstream. So I'll first, let me disclose, I do have a position in Bitcoin, and I do have a financial incentive to get people to buy Bitcoin. So
right.
You should take that into account when you hear my view on the price. But I do recommend that you do your own research and to not trust anybody that has a position in the investment that they're talking about. So with that said, I guess I'll just speak for my truth and what I believe. And basically, it's 21 million Bitcoin and 7.5 billion people that can potentially use it. So, for example, in the United States, they're like, well, why do we need another currency? The dollar is, strong. It's the world reserve currency. But in reality, your currency is only as stable as your government. And I don't know where most people in your audience, stand on the political spectrum.
Right.
But a lot of people see a lot of uncertainty and volatility in the world. And for example, countries like Venezuela, their currency is hyperinflating. There's people eating out of the trash.
Venezuela is a classic poster child for, hey, here's socialism at work. Even though that's not entirely what's going on. But for the most part, people look at Venezuela and they're like, oh my God. And people think that can't happen here. And I would tend to agree with them, but you never know. And whether it's something that extreme or just, if Hillary had gotten in, where would it be? Yeah. You just don't know. So
nobody saw 2009 coming, right? So you never know. So in Venezuela, the tech savvy there, they are surviving and feeding their family by mining, using electricity to mine Bitcoin and to turn electricity into money. And they're using this literally to survive. So for me, like everybody says, this is a scam, this is sketchy. I was like, no, there's people that really need Bitcoin, and if there's people that need it to survive, I think there's going to be demand for it.
So I don't want to just bring it down to is it a good investment or not, but it does look like, you did the math, and hey, it's 21 million Bitcoins and almost 8 billion people, and a lot of those folks are living in really unstable areas, so Bitcoin's not going away. How about things like Ethereum? There are other cryptocurrencies. How does that affect all of this?
Yeah, so there are thousands of other competing cryptocurrencies. It's basically software, so people can just, copy and paste the code and make their own currency and get very rich doing it. So a lot of people are doing that right now. They're selling, whatever currency that they made as like the next Bitcoin for people that like.
So for people listening right now, Paul H. Coin will be available next week. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, there are people literally just coming up with these algorithms and making money out of kind of thin air.
Yeah. So then I guess the most popular one is Ethereum, which is, I believe Bitcoin is around 100 billion plus in market cap. All the Bitcoin in the world is currently worth about $100 billion. And Ethereum is in second place. It's about 40 billion. And basically the way that we see it, or I see it, is that it's like a network effect like Facebook or Google to where the more the people are using it, the more valuable it gets. And for another currency to beat Bitcoin or to replace Bitcoin, they would have to create something, an innovation that's so much better than Bitcoin in order to break its network effect. So, for example, Facebook was so much better than MySpace that MySpace had the lead and then Facebook broke the network effect. So that's one argument. And the second argument is that empirically, based on the evidence of history, there is usually one reserve currency.
Right.
And that usually has been gold. And contrary to popular belief, the dollar and other government currencies is recent development that they became reserve currencies.
No, I mean, the U.S. dollar, for all intents and purposes, that is the reserve currency of the world. But before that...
Yeah, but then it started around in the 70s with Nixon, I believe. And it's only been 40 years.
The second that Nixon took it off the gold standard.
Yeah.
So there's that. So you're saying, not to put words in your mouth, but you're thinking that Bitcoin has the potential to be that next world reserve currency.
Yeah, because, I kind of was a gold bug, Peter Schiff fan and whatnot. And and their argument is that, everything's going to collapse and then we're going to go back to the gold standard and whatnot. And, being a millennial, I was like, I kind of understand that. But I'm like, if we go back to gold, we're already screwed.
Right.
And, it just doesn't make sense. And it's just like, I just had this combination of just the gold bug mindset, but also being immersed in technology in Silicon Valley. And then Bitcoin actually was the combination of the two, to where they use software to recreate gold in a digital way. And the thing with gold is that you have to store it, you have to protect it. It's physical, it's hard to move. With Bitcoin, you can just download it on your laptop, download it on your phone, or just keep it on a code on a piece of paper and not tell anybody. And it's weightless.
Final question. Actually, before the final question, you'd mentioned that Bitcoin, it's valuable. It's more valuable when more people use it. And I don't remember which, but I know that one of the soccer teams is just stated that they're going to start using digital currency to partially pay some of their players, which I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, that 4 years ago or 2 years ago, you never would have seen anything like that. And you do see Bitcoin starting. You do see the Bitcoin logo in different places now. More in Europe than here, but you're definitely seeing people start to use Bitcoin more. Yeah.
So I haven't heard about that exact instance, but I guess my view is that a lot of people talk about Bitcoin competing with all these other cryptocurrencies. My view is that it's competing with national government currencies like the dollar. And this is my simple thesis: is that, for example, the reserve currency of the world is the dollar, but the dollar is meant to serve the interests of 350 million people, the people of the United States, or citizens of the United States. I see Bitcoin as similar to the internet, to where it's a global protocol, a global technology. And, we all use Facebook. We almost all use Google, except for, people in China who are stuck behind the great firewall. But I think it makes sense to where we all are on the same level playing field and we all use one global currency. And it doesn't matter what country you're born in. If you're born in Venezuela or Haiti or North Korea, you have the same ability as an American to transact with the world and to store your wealth and
is Bitcoin
compete.
actually usable? And I mean, you'd have to actually be able to get onto the internet, though, right?
True.
So there's that. So North Korea, not so much.
Well, actually, the thing is, here's the interesting thing. Countries like Venezuela and North Korea, their governments actually mine Bitcoin. So they use that to get around economic sanctions in order to like.
See, and it's funny you mentioned that because my producer Dan was saying, "Hey, ask him about laundering money for terrorism through Bitcoin," and you basically saying, "Yeah, it's possible to do."
Yeah, well, it's just possible for them to spread propaganda on Facebook and Twitter. That's the catch-22 of an open protocol, and basically, from the world, the political background that I come from, kind of the libertarian anarchist school of thought, it's that we can no longer use force and violence to convince people to do things our ways. All you can do is have an open forum and allow society to come to a consensus about who they want to fund, who they do not want to fund, who do they want to associate with, and who do they do not want to associate with. And a lot of people think that world is scary. I think it's beautiful. So yeah, we will see. But yeah, I think Bitcoin is going to be maybe, if not as important as the internet, more important than the internet.
Well, we'll soon find out. Well, maybe not so soon, but we'll see. Down the road, we will see.
The thing is that everything is happening very quickly.
That's true. I mean, things are moving at an exponentially fast pace right now.
Nobody expected it to hit $20,000 in 2017. Like, people are saying, like, 1,000, 5,000, that'd be great. But this thing can move, like, it can go, it's like viral money. So imagine how fast Facebook or Snapchat just spun up out of nowhere. Bitcoin is built on that same open internet technology, so that can get spin up and can go viral. And not unlike Facebook, the value of Facebook shot up and then came down by 24% in one day. So Bitcoin has that same thing built into the pie, kind of. Yeah, well, any internet technology, it can be adopted by a billion people overnight. Really fast. For folks who want to reach out to you, maybe learn more about Bitcoin or just check you out on social media. Yeah, so then ground zero for everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This space is moving very quickly. It's on Twitter, and we affectionately refer to ourselves as crypto Twitter, cryptocurrency for short, Twitter. And my handle is @_Kevin_Pham. Pham. That's correct. There we go. So one more time on that on Twitter. @_Kevin_Pham. If that doesn't work, it's @Kevin_Pham_. It's, you know what? I don't look at, I'm not that vain. I don't look at my. I'll retweet you. Yeah. @Paul H. Talk on Twitter. Kevin, it's awesome having you in. Always learn something when you come in. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a fascinating space. It's weird. That's why I like it. Yeah, if you're into weird things that don't make sense or come out of left field, Bitcoin is there for you. Or if you want to stick $1,000 in and have 20,000 come back out in 4 days, maybe, but probably not. Don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Kevin, awesome having you in. Pleasure. Taking a quick break. Back in a minute. Paul Aratunian, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Whew. Awesome. Yeah. I now have, I think, a 1-minute segment. Let's see. I think I just screwed him. Hang on. Say that one more time.